And we're back. So, first thing first on the agenda is Apple got some news. And if you don't know what that news is just yet, it's they have canceled their plans for their electric car. I remember many years ago that Apple actually wanted to build out their electric cars and stuff like that. And they were talking about how it's going to use all these different features and stuff. But I think it's better that they just focus on the features in multiple different car brands than in their own. And we're going to figure out why that's the case. So before we dive in, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share for the algorithm. And let's see.
Car effort, and CBC's Steve Kovac joins us now at the table with more on all of it. What happened?
Yes, scrapping plans, hitting the brakes, whatever metaphor you want to use. But look, this is all coming, Andrew, after about a decade and billions of dollars in spending. Bloomberg, of course, first broke that news last night. It's been since confirmed all over the place. Look, this decision comes after years of leadership changes and deviations from the original dream Apple had of a self-driving electric car. They were calling it Project Titan internally, with no steering wheel or gas pedals. At one point, Apple even thought it could start selling its car by 2020. Projects created a revolving door, though, because between talent from Tesla and Apple attracted executives from traditional car companies as well, GM, BMW, and the like. But look, nothing has ever shipped in the last decade from this group, and many top execs bolted after just a few years. The last project leader, that was Doug Field. He's famous for making the Tesla Model 3. He left Apple for Ford in 2021, and most recently, the group was run by Kevin Lynch. He was originally hired by Apple to make the Apple Watch. His job is changing now, by the way. He's going to start reporting to Apple's AI boss, John Giannandrea, also known as JG internally. But look, now this is over. The group of approximately 2,000 employees working on this will be effective. Presumably, many of those focused on the car, the hardware of the car engineering, they're likely out of a job. But if there is one bright spot for Apple here, we've been talking about this all morning, some of that talent is going to be moved over to that John Giannandrea group to work on artificial intelligence.
So, a lot happened in the last minute and a half there. One thing that I really never realized is that Apple had such a high turnover. I remember when, like, as I was saying, I remember when that Apple car first got announced, and yeah, it was over a decade ago, but then I didn't hear nothing about it for years. Like, no updates, nothing like that. What was going on to a point that I believe a lot of people really forgot about it. Like, if you really remembered about Apple's car for in the most recent years, have you really heard about it? Like, come on now. But let's not sit here and lie. You forgot about it too, didn't you? Because I definitely forgot that they were even working on this until I saw the news of them finally canceling it. And I guess it would make sense that there was so much turnover and jumping ship happening if you weren't hearing nothing about it. They just, like, they even had talent from so many different companies, Tesla, Ford, GM, whatever, and they still couldn't get it rolling. That's the crazy thing. Having no steering wheel and no brake pedals or no pedals is wild. I don't like Elon makes a lot of changes with Tesla and pushes the limits on what's available to be on a car and not on a car. But Apple, that's very bold. What are you gonna drive with your phone? Well, they said self-driving, so it does it on its own. But what happens when you need manual overrides and stuff like that? Who's thinking of this? Who was thinking of this plan? Like, I see why it got suspended and stuff. Like, no, no, that's just something that's not gonna happen. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I'm sure a lot of people came out with and lost their jobs around it. As you see, that one VP, he got moved into the AI team. They're putting more support into the AI team because in this next Apple event that's gonna happen in a few months, they're going to talk about their new AI projects and stuff like that. He's about to dive into this and the reasonings of it, and I'm assuming he's going to because he just brought it up at the end. But a lot of people are losing their jobs, and one of the things that we did not see, especially from Apple this year, is layoffs. We covered layoffs from almost every other top company so far, but we have not covered their layoffs for Apple yet. And I've seen I'm part of this one app and stuff like that, and I've seen people saying like, "Oh, they've done their layoffs quietly with this," but you can definitely assume when big projects like this are finito, a lot of people lost their jobs as far as an effect of this, which is also tragic. And I think he said something else. said something else. I didn't about these people.
Going to be moved over to that John Giannangelo group to work on. Some of that talent is going to be moved over to that John Giannangelo group.
Yeah, he didn't say anything else besides that. But yeah, I think it's wild. You know, like, yeah, I saw this and I was like, yo, I forgot what it was even supposed to look like. Like, hold on. We gonna look together. Yeah, 2014. I was 14 years old when they first brought this up. And they said around 5,000 employees were reported working on the project as of 2018. Now, I bet you at least half of them are gone. The other half probably moved to go help with AI stuff and things like that. Yeah, they called it Project Titan. What was it supposed to look like again? I remember seeing so many different concepts. Um, I forget what the real one looked like. I feel like it was more along this line. I feel like it was more along. You guys can't see my cursor, but the main picture pulled up. I feel like it was more along that frame as what the car was supposed to look like there. Um, but yeah, it took them 10 years to drop something. I'm actually very surprised. It took that long, especially through COVID happening and a bunch of other stuff. They're not really a car manufacturing place. Obviously, they've been focused on a new product being the Vision Pro. They need a lot more help focusing on that product specifically. Uh, a car is a big stretch. They would be trying to enter a crazy competitive market, and their cars would literally only be bought off of the hype that I don't even know if it would work in the first place. But let's continue.
Morning. Some of that talent is going to be moved over to that John Giannangelo group to work on artificial intelligence. And speaking of AI, let's talk about what Tim Cook said in 2017, calling the company's self-driving car project, quote, the mother of AI projects. So there are several ways to look at this. I'll give you two. How about this? The realization that it's better to focus the investment on the technology that's happening today, that would of course be AI, instead of chasing a highly regulated and low profit margin market like the auto market. And perhaps all that time and money spent on self-driving, the AI can apply to whatever magic AI thing Apple is going to be working on and expected to announce later this year. Or you can just look at this as a straight up blunder in Apple's failed attempt to disrupt what Morgan Stanley analysts had been calling to this entire journey, a $10 trillion industry that Apple could have tapped into. I think Morgan Stanley was saying they just had to capture 2% of that 10 trillion, bigger than the iPhone business.
So do you look?
Okay, two major shocks there. One major shock and one clarification. The first thing I want to clarify is how a lot of that talent is able to move over into the AI part is because Tesla's AI department is mainly a bunch of people for the all the sensing and the tracking and all that information and the machine learning that comes into the car sensing everything. So they car companies themselves have AI departments in there. So it was just a bunch of these ML engineers and AI engineers and people who are heavily focused in this area where already they already have the talent to help out on these projects. So it's easy to just for the company to move them into these projects. They will have a little bit of catch up on what the main focus would be and stuff. But instead of just focusing on a little sliver, that's how they're able to just move these resources over into another project. And that's how employees are seen. They're seen as resources. It didn't come from me, but that's just what it is. But that's how they're able to do such a thing. The other thing, I didn't know the car business. Is it the car business or EV business that's a $10 trillion market? Either way, like I said, the only people that would have bought their cars would have been bought off of the hype. And I really think they could have got 2%. I don't know how hard it is to get 2%, but 2% of 10 trillion? Oh my gosh. That's a lot of money. Tell you, that's a lot going on right there. They said 2% of. I don't like doing math. Is $20 billion. So that if they would have been able to get an EV out with all that machine learning and stuff like that, they would have been able to get $10 billion if they got 2% of that market, along with, which I think is possible, built strictly off the hype. You see the Vision Pro. Vision Pro is a very expensive product. Hey, they would have gotten it off the hype. They got a lot of sales off the hype. The app, iPhone itself, off the hype. A lot of their products are sold off of hype, and that I find it crazy that if they only got 2% of this market, it would be way more than their iPhone market. But I guess the value of an iPhone is a slight sliver of a value of an EV, an electric car. So I can see how that quote can correlate as well too. Look at me getting alerts to do the podcast, and I'm already on it. Ha ha ha. Ahead of schedule. It's always good to be ahead of schedule. But yeah, that is wild. That little sliver of one market could be. I can see how that can take a hard hit, but yeah, what they probably need to do is focus and refine this AI stuff that they're trying to figure out, and then they can probably try to expand again. I feel like this is something that Apple's going to try to bring back later, but like as I said, the Vision Pro product needs a lot more help going into it, and who knows, they're about to announce this AI stuff, and when they do, how good is that going to be? We've seen there's already a lot of strong competition out there already, so they need to pretty much catch up and show what they got around that kind of tables. So
Look at this as a failure. I mean, we were talking about all of the other things that happened in the last couple of years that they got out of it, right? I mean, they were working on this, not just the EV part of it, but remember, they were trying to do mapping. They actually got maps out of it. They're now in the CarPlay in 98% of cars. I think
something like that. You can't rent or buy a car without CarPlay.
And I was basically making the argument that the entire time that they were going this route, they were basically hedging the whole effort. If you will.
It's possible, but I mean, you got to look at it in the other way too. They hired real car engineers to work on this. They wanted to build an actual car, and that shifted so many times. Look, I remember Elon Musk saying Tesla's robotaxis are coming next year. That was 5 years ago. So no one has figured this out yet. Waymo, they were early on this. They haven't figured it out. Why spend all that effort putting something that just continues to be 5 to 10 years away?
Right. Do you believe when they say they're redeploying the resources towards AI? Is that just something you say in this environment where if you just say the words AI anything?
You have to say it. And look at Kevin Lynch, the executive who I mentioned, who was in charge of the project up until yesterday, really. He was there for the Apple Watch, and now he's almost been demoted or maybe sidestepped now. He's reporting under this AI group. It sounds like the move, why let those software engineers go to Microsoft or a competitor? Let them work on AI. The real question is, can those learnings that they did?
I feel like I tried to say this before. I feel like he been listening to the podcast, because I said something like this before about why would you let all your talent go somewhere else and build up their products when you can just move them to another one of yours and help build it up? You already paying them. Well, of course some talent was lost in the project. Like, of course they didn't bring all of it. I'm not in full belief that, oh, they moved every single person. They did not move every single person. We know they didn't move every single person. But their talent, the people who they want to keep, said it like, oh, this project failed, let's get rid of everyone. Why would you do that? You got products that you need more help in. You gonna bring them over to give you more help in those products. That's just he been listening to the podcast, because he which way I got to point? This way? I got to point this way? My camera's backwards. He's spitting right now. I said with all the layoff stuff going on right now, and I was talking about how to be safe from layoffs and things. I've been saying this for months. I've been saying it for months. I said for months that if you're in the AI and ML field right now for the next 5 years, you gonna get kept and you gonna get moved, especially if you have talent around it and experience around it. I've been saying this. I've been saying it. I said it. You can check any of the videos. I'm sure I said it. I'm sure it's somewhere in there. And if I ain't say it, I agreed with it. A statement around it. I promise it. Somebody prove me wrong. Go watch all my videos and prove me wrong and say I did it. I'm just saying, I said it. I swear I said it. I believe I said it, man. That is so crazy. Because they did that. I'm telling you, they do it. They do it all the time. You got to figure out what these companies are focused on and adjust your needs to be able to stay employed. I've been saying it. Let's continue.
Did what Cook called the mother of all AI projects. Can that be translated to whatever they're going to announce for some kind of AI iOS version that might come this summer?
I think that's the bigger question, and I don't think that Apple is saying that they're deploying resources to AI just for like window dressing purposes, because Apple's never been on that bandwagon. I mean, as all of the other big cap tech stocks have said, AI this, AI that, Apple's not done that yet, and so everybody's waiting for June for the developers conference. Do you get any sense that Apple is ready for prime time?
Apple ain't gonna say AI. This is what Apple gonna do. The same thing they did with the Vision Pro. Augmented reality. Instead of virtual reality. All these companies were saying VR, 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 virtual reality. Meta, all of them were saying virtual reality. You know, Apple came around and said augmented reality. This is different. And they patented it. What they are going to do is create some fun buzzword for AI in their event. Somebody can timestamp me. I'm actually going to make a note of this video. I'm going to make a note of this video because I'm telling you, they're going to come up with a fun buzzword in their event for AI that means the same thing. That's going to, like, computed intelligence or some BS, something along them terms, and that's going to be what they gonna call it instead. Yet you think AI they don't be on bandwagon? Apple be on bandwagon. Samsung be doing features in their phones and Android before Apple even get there for years, and then Apple jumps on it and just does it a little bit different and stuff and shows off a little bit different. They be on the bandwagon, they just sneak up behind. That's all they do. They always come behind with the little features, and then everybody jumps on Apple products on the bandwagon. They are the bandwagon. They the goats of bandwagon. I'm telling you, they gonna say it in the thing. Where's this at? Where's my DevTalks freaking notes? I'm telling you. I'm telling you they gonna make a fun buzzword and they gonna patent it. I learned that from the first event I watched last year on podcasts. On the podcast. And when we was video only. Promise you, they gonna do it.
I mean, in terms of an AI offering, that's what investors want.
And you got to get. So I was talking to Tim Cook with Jim Cramer on their earnings report just a couple weeks ago, and you know, this is the AI story he's been hammering for the last year and a half as we talk about this. It's built into so many of their products already. Whatever Apple shows on the iPhone that's doing some new AI stuff, we've seen it from Samsung, we've seen it from Huawei and Honor. That stuff has been going on forever. They're just labeling it different. But then the question becomes, is it more of like a marketing thing, kind of like 5G was? Remember the 5G iPhone came out and everyone started
So you don't believe that we're going to learn in June or July?
Oh, I do believe.
No, that there's going to be something that's going to feel very much like I can talk to Chat. I talk to ChatGPT right now. The problem with ChatGPT,
it's going to be Siri. They're not going to rebrand it. They're going to have some Siri. It's going to be called some Siri something, and they're going to integrate it just like Gemini is doing with their phones. Samsung earlier this year said that all their phones are going to have Gemini in it. And all that stuff. And that's going to be their AI voice. Your assistant on your phone is going to be the Gemini bot. that used to be barred, and that's how they're gonna treat it. And ain't no more Alexa or nothing. That's how they're going to, or Cortana, whatever they called it. It ain't gonna be none of that, none of those phones. That's what it's going to be. It's gonna be just like Gemini on the Samsung products, but this time on your phone it's gonna be Siri. And what they're gonna do is upgrade Siri with the new infrastructure and stuff like that. Make it like the chatbots and be like that. And it's gonna be called Siri something else. Unless they give it some new name and be like and deprecate Siri. But why would you do that? You already have Siri. Just integrate. They're going to integrate it all into Siri on iOS. That's literally what they're going to do. Like, that's what they're going to do. I'm telling you, that's what they're going to do. I don't even work for Apple. I know that's what they're going to do. If they don't do it, I'd be so shocked. I'd be stressing out. Because that would mean Apple is actually doing something out of the norm for once. Gosh, I gave myself a headache. I need water. Oh, gosh, man. I'm telling y'all. That's what they're gonna do, man. That's what they're gonna do. I'm telling you, that's what they're gonna do. I wish everybody else can see that that's how they're going to do that. I wish everybody can see that. Like, wow.
GPT is it can't really go access all of my different apps.
Oh, 100%.
There's no API for it to really do all of the things that I want it to do. Do you think that this will be able to do that? Or do you think that they're just so far behind in terms of being able to build effectively a large language model of their own that can actually do all these things?
It's relatively easy. The photos is such an easy place to talk about, Andrew. So they've been doing this AI stuff for photos for years and years and years. Every time you take a picture with your iPhone, AI is happening to make the picture look better, to get it in focus, and so forth. They're just going to add more to that, I believe. Or you can do something like you said, I'll take a photo of the three of you, and I say remove Joe from the photo to make it look better, for example.
Wow, that's really something we could do.
Yeah.
So, wow.
So this
That might make this photo look
my
better.
selfies are already.
No, that's crazy. That is actually crazy. He said, let's remove Joe so the picture can look better. That is wild that he just said that shit on live television. Oh my gosh. That is wild. Dude, I would get that man back in the craziest way. My lick back would be wild. Next time I have the chance, I'm firing right back at him.
Already trying to.
Yeah, they make you.
So this is me
jazz you up.
looking better.
Exactly.
Great.
Yeah,
But I don't want that. I want to be able to say, make the reservation for whatever, and then it's going to go into Open Table, and just it's going to go do it.
Yes. That's the hope.
And right now, if you ask Siri to do that, or even if you ask Siri to like make a count, put something in your calendar half the time,
score of the Mets
it won't
game.
necessarily do that. You think that's?
I think that's more of the kind of thing we're going to see in June or in next iteration of iOS.
You believe they're building their own like behind the scenes large language model?
They've talked about it, yeah, and in fact they're doing public research in this. So I mean, they have their models out there.
How far behind do you think they are?
That is unclear. What I really want to know is how much they're spending on NVIDIA
chips.
And that is what this capex now that they're not spending on the car. How much of that is going to go into generative AI? Because, like I said earlier, that is the technology of now. The car thing has never panned out for anyone, not just Apple, for Waymo, you name it. No one's been able to really do it. There have been a lot of promises. This is happening now. This is achievable now. That's what they're focusing on.
So I actually don't think it's going to be as advanced as he thinks it's going to be, especially off the get-go. What's going to happen is Apple was far behind, like they always are. Or they just not telling us how far behind they are. And what's going to happen is they're going to show all this stuff that they're planning on doing, all the stuff that it can currently do. But you're not going to have the calendar events and stuff right off the get-go. I don't think so. And making the reservations off the get-go because I just don't think they're there yet. That's why they're bringing a lot more focus into it. They're going to be trying to get it up as quick as possible before that June date or May or June date, whenever the event's going to be. They're going to try to hurry up and try to get it up. They're going to get something that they can somewhat have some type of product by next year or the end of this year, early next year or end of this year, for the users and stuff to update their iOSs and things. And that's just how it's going to be. It's going to be compatible with only iOS products, OS products, and going from there. So that's just what my take is on it. This was actually a very good, very good video to react to. I wasn't expecting to get all of that from them per se, but hey, that's what we do around here. We getting better. Each week we getting better. That's the goal. Overall goal is to get better.